We had a caller, I think it was last Thursday, that called in about a bill that was kind of interesting in Mississippi and seems problematic in a lot of ways. And it's talking about, well, we actually have the representative on. Let's have him tell us about it. He's from the Mississippi Freedom Caucus. His name is Steve Hopkins. He's a Republican state representative from Mississippi. Steve, how are you?
Doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. We heard a listener called in and told us about something that it was really disturbing about a bill that is up for a vote in Mississippi and a couple of other, I think Tennessee and maybe Alabama. Arkansas. Okay. What is this bill?
Well, it's the Tri-State Compact bill. And I want to thank Rebecca for calling in and bringing you guys' attention to this, because this is all about regionalism. It's all about setting up quasi-governmental entities that subvert the law. So what it would actually do is it would set up a commission of people, 5 from Mississippi, 5 from Tennessee, 5 from Arkansas, on a commission that is unelected people who could make decisions without government oversight. They're not subject to the open door policies or transparency laws. They could issue eminent domain orders. They could take people's property to be able to do whatever they want to do. So the business, the company that's behind all this is RegionSmart, but it's the most heinous piece of legislation that I've seen in my 7 years here in the Mississippi legislature.
So do we know anything about RegionSmart? Who are they?
We are finding out more than we could ever have asked for. These guys have ties to the Urban Land Institute and a company called BlackRock. And all this, Glenn, all of this goes back, we believe, to the Clinton era. Clinton did an executive order, I think it was back in 1998, for sustainable development, encouraging public-private partnership, and shift power from elected officials to appointed agencies. Well, you fast forward, now you've got this infrastructure bill coming out, and there's millions of dollars set aside for compacts. Well, that's what this bill would do. It makes a compact of unelected officials in Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi who can they can tax, they can issue bonds, and they can take your land by eminent domain. We have an eminent domain law in Mississippi, and the law says that that the government can't take somebody's property and then give it to somebody or a private corporation within 10 years. Well, this would subvert that law because it's given, them the power to do it, and they're unelected.
I have to ask you. I mean, first of all, Steve, thanks for being on this. Thanks for being the chair of the Mississippi Freedom Caucus. But I can't imagine any person who is actually representing the people voting for this. This is insane. If somebody comes and says, "Oh, by the way, eminent domain, you're going to lose your house. Here's the money for it, and you got to move." Those legislators are going to be called by those constituents to say, "Hey, you got to stop this." When they find out that those legislators voted for these people who are not elected, who, as you say, don't have any transparency, and they are just developing something that God only knows what it's going to be, and most likely you will be a renter, not an owner, if I know BlackRock at all. Those people are going to be torn apart. Who is for this in the House and Senate?
Well, believe it or not, the original House author is Senator David Parker from DeSoto County. which is in the compact, DeSoto County, Mississippi. And the explanation wasn't thorough, needless to say. So it passed the Senate unanimously.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, by the time it gets to the House, we had some red flags immediately. We started digging into it immediately and pushing back on it once we saw what's in it, because the initial explanation in the Senate doesn't cover any of this stuff. So and I want to thank Andy Roth from the Freedom Caucus Network that we're a part of for helping us to be able to dig through all this stuff, because as a member of the State Freedom Caucus Network, we have the ability, we've got people helping us dig through and find a lot of this information and background. And we were able to tie, like I said, these people to the Urban Land Institute, to BlackRock. And like I said, it's scary because you're basically giving all this power to this commission of people. Now, Glenn, this is why we're elected, because we can be held accountable for bad decisions. Well, this would give cover to bad politicians, where they could just say, hey, you guys make that decision, and I just want to be the good guy on all the good stuff.
Correct.
But you guys go ahead and do that. And that gives cover to these bad politicians.
So RegionSmart ULI was a part of the Equitable Development Challenge event. It was held in Memphis, showed the group to be Black Lives Matter supporters. They trained on racial equity, wealth gap, cultural sensitivity, the 1619 Project, and implicit bias tests. So they are not necessarily a friend of our Constitution. The odds that, is this close to passing in any of these three states, and what do people do?
Well, we need people. You can go to our website, freedomcaucus.ms. That's freedomcaucus.ms. And we've got a form on there where people can use the form to email the representatives. We need people to contact the Speaker of the House, the chairman of the Workforce Development Committee, and all the representatives, and plead with them to vote no on this. The deadline is tomorrow night at midnight.
Oh my gosh!
So if it isn't brought up, it'll die on the calendar. So we just need this thing to die on the calendar and not even be brought up for a vote.
Okay, and this is happening in Tennessee as well. You know what's really insidious about this is who wrote this bill, because they're all the same, are they not?
Exactly. We found something that said that tied RegionSmart. Some of the money behind this was used to write the bills. So the bills have to be exactly the same in Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi. So it looks like RegionSmart paid to have the bill written.
Unbelievable. Steve, thank you for everything you're doing. Will you just keep us up to speed and let us know what happens?
Absolutely, Glenn. Thank you for taking the time to have me on.
Oh, you bet. Mississippi State Representative Steve Hopkins, chairman of the Mississippi Freedom Caucus. We're talking about a bill in 3 different states. And I'll bet you that this is everywhere. I bet you they're doing something like this in other regions. Start looking for this group. I'm trying to remember what the name of the group is. Stu, did you see this? RegionSmart. Now they may have something else, but look for RegionSmart and see if any of these are in your state. Be on the lookout. These guys are not going to give up without a fight. They're not. And we think we're on top of it. We don't. We are in a different kind of war. We are in a different kind of war. They are going around every way they can to cut the circulation of the Constitution off.
Yeah. So how do you gauge all of this that's going on. And as you point out, it's consistent with the stuff that we would fear from the Great Reset that's happening with Russia. However, Russia is an aggressive actor, and, you look back at some of the really bad things that have happened in history, and if this sort of stuff went on when those things were going on, maybe we would have minimized the impact. I mean, certainly it would have been great if IBM wasn't helping the Nazis.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is. It would have been.
Right. That would have been a better outcome.
Correct. And so why didn't our founders, why didn't people back then just stop these corporations from doing that?
Well, I mean, stopping them is one thing. Right, but them doing it on their own is another.
Finding a way to do it.
Wouldn't we want IBM to say, we're not doing business with these people?
Yeah, we would.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
So,
but IBM did
this?
do that. IBM did do that. They just let their arm in Europe do it.
Right, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were just doing it in a crafty way. That's what always happens. Look, you can't stop. Ends justify the means. If we can stop him from doing what he's doing in Ukraine, and it means cobbling together and launching the Great Reset, should we do it?
Well, we don't want the Great Reset to hit the globe.
Right.
But
that's what's going to happen. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. This is the Great Reset in action. You're watching it.